A recent event could have serious repercussions for the UK economy and for Chancellor Rachel Reeves on. A startling new report was issued on Friday, and the numbers are worse than anyone could have predicted. The UK economy is clearly under a lot of stress, and the government's pledges to spur development are now being closely examined, and businesses are becoming less confident. With the pound declining and recession concerns growing, this fresh disclosure is expected to trigger a significant political and economic storm. What has been disclosed, and how bad may things become for Rachel Reeves? Just a quick heads up, we have new Liberty shirts available on our website. You can check the link in the description or visit British.com. Stay tuned as we break it all down, but first press the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Chancellor Rachel Reeves and her economic plan were severely harmed by the 0.1% decline of the UK GDP in January 2025. What's causing this economic slump and how will Reeves respond? Let's break it down. According to the Office for National Statistics, the contraction was driven by a weak performance in manufacturing, construction, and oil and gas extraction. However, some sectors of the economy, like food stores, showed resilience as more people chose to eat at home, but it wasn't enough to offset the broader decline. This has sparked new concerns that Britain could be heading towards recession. What's worse is that city economists had actually predicted growth of 0.1%, making this decline a nasty surprise for the government. Speaking about the data, Liz McCone, the Director of Economic Statistics, described the overall picture as one of weak growth, pointing to manufacturing slowing significantly along with poor performance in key industries like energy production and construction. The economy is now dangerously close to recession territory, which is officially defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth over the 3 months leading up to January. GDP did manage to grow by 0.2%, but that fragile progress is now at risk, and the markets quickly reacted to the news. The value of the pound fell by 0.1% against the dollar and the euro. Jens Stanzel, chief market analyst at CMC Markets, didn't mince words when he called the numbers a total letdown and cautioned that they would further pressure the Bank of England to lower interest rates earlier than anticipated. What does this leave us with? Despite Rachel Reeves's repeated pledges to boost the economy with plans described in her autumn budget and impending spring statement, business leaders have not responded favorably to her proposals thus far. Her decision to increase the minimum wage and national insurance employer contributions has drawn criticism from many quarters. Businesses warned last month that these measures might hinder investment and slow job development, despite the government's insistence that they are necessary to pay public services and raise living standards. Reeves also supported Heath Airport's expansion, claiming it would spur economic growth. However, detractors contend that a single infrastructure project is insufficient to address the larger economic issues, and with the spring statement quickly approaching, pressure is growing on Reeves to boost confidence and keep the UK from entering a recession. Her answer to the GDP data was a fearless defense of her policy. Reeves maintained that the world has changed and that we are feeling the effects globally, which is why we are doing more and more to safeguard our nation, reform our public services, and spur economic growth. She also mentioned plans for the largest sustained increase in defense spending since the Cold War and pledged to rebuild Britain, but are these plans sufficient? Economists, like Haley Lowe of the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, are still dubious. She cautioned that the UK's economic outlook is still precarious and that frequent policy reversals run the risk of eroding investor and business confidence at a time when clarity and consistency are most needed. When analysts predicted growth, the UK economy shrank, and the business community is becoming less trusting of Reeves' tax policy. The major question now is whether Reeves can turn things around or if this most recent economic shock is only the start of a far bigger catastrophe. The pound has suffered, markets are anticipating pressure on the Bank of England, and recession concerns are suddenly resurfacing. Mr. Speaker, what does the Prime Minister have against farmers anyway? Does he not realize that his budget is killing farming in this country and that he is making life much harder for everyone else? Every day I talk to businesses who tell us that they think they are going out of business and that supermarkets tell them that food prices will increase by more than 4% because of the jobs tax, and that's before we get to the immoral family farms tax on the very farmers who work so hard to produce our food. Yes, Mr. Speaker, the budget allocated £5 billion for farming over the next 2 years, which is a record amount. We've laid out the farming roadmap, and farmers have welcomed it. However, she talks about how wages are rising higher than prices, which is the first time in a long time that this has happened, so families nationwide are better off working. He has no answers today, and the farmers are complaining about the sustainable farming incentive, which he recently revoked. They are making mistakes with this budget, which is why the Chancellor will visit this House in 2 weeks to present an emergency budget. The Prime Minister claimed that we wouldn't need it and that they would attempt to blame it on world events, but in reality, their poor decisions are what destroy the economy. Claps. They claimed to be pro-business and said they would take care of pensioners, but they increased taxes on jobs. Mr. Speaker said he would freeze the council tax, but it is now going up by 1. This is a high-tax, low-growth government that is killing jobs. Will he use emergency budgets to fix the mess he's made? Mr. Speaker, inflation under them made us the laughing stock of the world with a mini-budget of 11%, £22 billion, and they want to give us lectures on the economy? Thank you very much. Slinger. Other news. As part of Britain's efforts to demonstrate its support for its allies and emphasize its dedication to defending the alliance's eastern flank, Prince William will visit Estonia next week from March 20 to 22 to meet with British troops participating in NATO operations in the area. Prince William will visit Tehran to find out more about the nation's response to the current situation in Ukraine. This is William's first trip to the Baltic state, and while there, he will meet with the Colonel-in-Chief of the British Regiment, which is headquartered in Estonia. During his stay in Estonia, William had earlier traveled to Poland to see British soldiers assisting Ukraine. William and Estonian President-elect Karas will meet. If you haven't already, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more British stuff. Thank you, and take care. What are your thoughts on the topics we covered in today's video? Let me know in the comments section below. Goodbye.